All right, any boogers? Yeah. Hey everybody, this is Mr. Kevin from HumboldtCraftworks. How you doing today? So today I'd like to talk to you about shims, how useful shims can be, and things of that nature. I use little tiny shims all the time for everything in my job, and it's amazing how many times I use little tiny shims like this.
Shims.
We're talking about, what are we talking about today? Shims, shims, shims. We're talking about shims, shims. So I use shims every day in my little woodworking life, and if you don't believe me, look, got piles of them. I usually carry a couple in my thing here, like that. I usually carry 2 1/4-inch shims with me at all times. I also use these little paper shims like this. So most of you are going to think, oh, this is another one of Mr. Kevin's silly ideas that he came up with just to make a video. And you would be. So if you're a carpenter, a cabinet maker, furniture maker, installer of cabinets, anything, or a woodworking contractor like I am, using these little tiny shims, all different thicknesses, in your shop or when you're installing, I'll show you several different uses for these things, and I use them all the time. I usually make a whole pile of them and chop them all up and label them and put them in here. They used to be all separated by thicknesses and all that stuff, but that kind of went out the window on my last job because I used all sorts of kinds. But one job I did use them on a long time ago, and this is where I got the idea, is I had a pile of inset doors to do for a very customized kitchen that was super distressed, way out in the middle of nowhere. And I'll show you. So this is one of the samples that I made the guy. I think I made 3 or 4 different samples because he wasn't sure of wood or anything like that. I'm going to click this on, make sure I'm in focus. Am I in focus? And what I did is he wanted really tight tolerances and really distressed wood. I mean, look at super distressed, craziness. And this isn't even as distressed as the one that he actually picked. Yeah. So what I did is I used these little 16th-inch cardboard shims to fit the doors. What I do is I put them in the corners like this, and put them in the corners. You can put them up on the tops up here, but I use these to give me a little space out, so I had a 16th-inch reveal around the whole thing. So I use these almost every day, and not just the paper ones, but I have the 1/4-inch ones that I use. And I have some that are like 1/8 inch and 3/32. I'm gonna put this away. My scrap wood thickness indicators. And all it has is, it's got the dimension right on there. So this one says, you see that one? See, if I do like this, it might get it. 1/4 inch. 3/32. Like I said before, these are a 16th. I got some that are 3/8 of an inch thick. I made some out of this plywood I found one time that was exactly 3/16. So I made a pile of those. And these are my favorite ones. These ones I use a lot. On the last job I did in that bar in Willow Creek, I'll put a picture right here of it. I used tons of these, and they're all over the place now. I don't know where they are. They're 3/32. So you might ask yourself, how the hell are these little tiny blocks going to help me build furniture or improve my life as a woodworker? So I'll tell you the way that I use these blocks and how I use them in my everyday life, whether it's building furniture, working on the table saw, chopping up some moldings or whatever, or even on installs, using them to scribe things. I use these to scribe on the floors and all sorts of things. And if you think of anything that you use the little blocks for, comment below and let me know what you do. Yeah, it's kind of cool. We could share, things of that nature. Okay. Next. So number 1, which isn't number 1, but it's just number 1. The first thing I do is I use these sometimes to set up my table saw. 1/4 inch I use quite a bit, so a lot of things for dados or whatever you're doing on the table saw, I use 1/4 inch and 3/8 quite a bit to set the height. And remember, table saw safety, another 2-tip Tuesday tip, always set your blade, whatever your thickness is, 1 tooth above. 1 tooth above is all you need. Okay, 1/4 inch, 3/8. I got him right. Whoa. Let's go on to number 2, shall we? All right. What's it gonna be? Well, number 2 is fitting inset doors and drawer fronts. If you have an old face frame like this here, the first thing you do is to make your door or drawer front or whatever it is, make it the exact size of the opening. Let's just say that's your door. What you do is you take this here thing, put it down like that, and then you mark it with a pencil. And you can either go across the whole door like this or just mark it corner to corner and then edge sand it off till it fits. Or join it, depends. And you do the same on the sides. You can just mark it with a pencil right here, and top and bottom, and boom. And just edge sand it, fit it. And it makes it much easier. And kind of sneak your way into, because you don't want to take off too much, it might look silly. So number 3, and they're not in any kind of order, is you can also use these little things if you're, let's say you're doing a staircase, and as most staircases are, they're completely out of whack. Whoever built them didn't pay attention to level, square, plumb, whether the rise was normal or anything else like that. And that happens all the time. It doesn't matter if they're metal or wood carriages, whatever they are, there are always some problems, and you got to level them out. And having a pile of these little shims that are exact thickness, so when you put your stuff on there, you're like, okay, this needs to be like that, and blah, 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 blah. On and on it goes. If you're a stair builder, stair builder. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're a mess. So instead of using shims like these, which are, skinny on one side and fat on the other, these are all the same thickness. All right, and then you can just pick, that's got to come up 1/8 of an inch. You pop one of these guys in there, you're good to go. I need to come up just a little bit. Well, these things are throwaways because they're just cardboard, and hence that's why I have so many of these. This actually came off a couple of jobs where I just use these to maneuver the wood in and out to make all the miters work, especially if you have a rake board that has mitered returns on it. And I'll show you a picture of that right here. Yeah. If the wall's crooked, this is crooked, that's out of whack. These little things will save your butt. There you go. Oh, also on installs, you can, if you ever have to scribe anything to the ground or whatever, let's say your ground's here and it's all crooked and everything, and so there's a 1/4 inch gap here and it's tight here. So you got a 1/4 inch gap over here on the floor and it runs to 0 over here. What you do is like, okay, that's a 1/4, I got my 1/4 inch piece here, right? And you just take your pencil and right like this over here all the way, and that way you can scribe right to the floor. Yeah. So these little guys work great as scribes too, whether it's a 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, whatever. Just take out your pencil, run it along the floor, and off you go. Whatever the thickness, whatever the biggest gap is, if you can stick one of these in there and go, oh cool, it's a 1/4 inch, it's got a big hump on the floor, you just come along and scribe over the whole thing. Works just as good as spending $90 on a pair of scribes. Believe me, I got tons of them. Next. Oh. So the chop saw shims. If you're cutting a 45 or some crazy little angle thing, and your piece of wood that you're trying to connect to has got a gap in the top or the bottom, you can either put this down on the base of your chop saw when you're cutting it, or you have the other problem where it needs to go the other direction. You put it back over here, and then it cuts off, like this. Whoop. So either take it off the front or the back. It's a very helpful little thing to have, especially when you got little 1/4 inch pieces. 1/4 inch, 1/8, sometimes 3/8 is a lot, but like 1/8 inch. So I have little pieces like this too that I use sometimes with me, especially when I'm installing for scribing and other things like I said before, but also for using in your chop saw to make little compound cuts. That's another one. Whatever that one is, number 5. So if you ever run casings around doors or windows or anything like that, and you usually have a 1/4 inch reveal around the door and the casing, right? The door jamb and the casing, you have a 1/4 inch reveal, and go look at your door. You'll be like, oh yeah, there's like a 1/4 inch Yeah, or the windows if they have casings around the windows. What you do is you take yourself some, and another two-tip Tuesday thing, double stick tape. Little piece of double stickum tape, right? Mm-hmm. Put it on here. And this is a 1/4 inch. Rub it on there really good. I got to see what the hell I'm doing. It's pretty small. Check it out. It worked. Your scrap wood thickness indicator. And you attach it to here, like this. All right. Okay. And then when you're doing your casing work, let's say this is your jamb, you just use this with one hand, hold it against the jamb, and you take your other trim with this hand here, and you bump it on there, boom, and you're good to go. So you got your 1/4 inch space. Let's say this is your jamb. You got your 1/4 inch space, and you just butt your trim right into it and nail it on there, and that'll work. You can also use it as a marking guide. So let's say you're putting up your 45 on the top of your window or whatever, and you got to mark your jamb. All right, Mr. Jam, I'm going to mark you. So instead of marking over with a square or whatever, you just put this silly thing in your hand like this here. Take your pencil and you go, boopy, up there on the top. All right, and see, I'm going to squeeze in here, and it's marked, right? So, and then you just measure over from mark to mark, and that'll give you your inside miter. Cut away. Saves you time and money. And then when you're done, you take it off. Oh, there we go. I got it back. It's going back in my pocket. And you take this little thing and throw it away. Oh, missed the bucket that time. Jewelry boxes. So I use these little tiny 1/16 inch things for my jewelry box lids, and all the little drawer fronts on my jewelry boxes when I made them. I'll put a picture here. I don't know if I have any of the lids, but they were pretty tight, and this is what I used to actually fit it. And I marked it and fit the opening of the box, and then put this around there, marked everything, edge sanded it, and sanded it when it was nice, and put it in there nice and tight. Just like that. So there's all the different uses that I can think of. If you think of anything, just comment down below, and yeah, we can all share. All right, guys. Well, if you like the video, please hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. Hit the little button. Doesn't hurt at all. You just push the button. Bring. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Fling, flang, the bang, bang. And thanks for being you and hanging out with me. We'll see you next time on Woodworking with Mr. Kevin. That's me. You have an awesome day, and we'll see you soon.
Shims.
Okay, we're done. No, not done. This is not a shim. Oh, we got a comment. Please comment on the comment that I commented about. Okay. No, thank you. Okay. Shim shimmery. Here's one for you. Here's one for me. Wow.